For those select few that are already initiated, you should already know what's coming next. And for those of you that aren't, just chill. See, we're gonna get down to the nitty gritty here in a minute, but what I'm always trying to get everybody to understand is everything is vibration. So, vibe. If you haven't smiled yet today, now would be the perfect time to do so. Immediately. It's about that time for you to open up your ear and let me crawl into your mind. One time. Right now, but it ain't that. You damn sure can't see it. Nah, you gotta feel me, baby. And I'm that Jones in your bones. I'm that part of yourself that just wants to get to know you a little bit better. What it was. Everything is vibration. Yes, sir. Just smile. What it was. Y'all already know who it is, and y'all tuned in with Priceless Knowledge of Self. And this right here, this ain't nothing but some cosmic insight. And what this also is just another deep dive into the intricacies that are you. And what I mean by it this time is this right here. This a little something about the major aspects between the sun and Neptune in your natal chart. And understand that I said major aspects. That means I'm talking about conjunctions, oppositions, trines, squares, sextiles, and inconjunctions or quincunxes, which is what inconjunctions are also referred to these days. That means I'm not talking about your quintiles, your biquintiles, your sesquadrants, your semisextiles, your semisquares. I'm not talking about your Star of David or your T-square or your grand trine. No, not yet. See, first, we got to master the basics. So it's a good thing you got me. And before we dive into the aspect, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to tell you a little bit about the sun. I'm going to give y'all a quick breakdown of the energy that comes along with it and how it might affect you. Then after that, we're going to talk a little bit about Neptune and the energy that comes along with that and how it might affect you. Then after that, we're going to bring it to a culmination and eventually a climax. And fortunately for you, you tuned in with one of the coldest closers in the game. So, without wasting any more time, let's get this thing cracking. So what is the sun? The sun is our ego. It's our identity. And just like the sun is at the center of the solar system, The ego is at the center of our identity, and everything revolves around that. All right. And so when we're talking about the sign placement of our sun, that's going to be the primary indicator of the forms of experience that we're attracted to. Now, with the house placement of the sun, this is going to show the primary area of expression for each one of us in life. All right. Now, the aspects to the sun, these are the most significant aspects you're going to see. The sun is not the most important planet or the most important placement. That's the moon. It's not the significant placement in the chart, most significant placement in the chart either, because that's the ascendant. But the aspects that the sun make are the more prominent and more important aspects that you're going to see out of all of them in your chart. All right. And so when we talk about Neptune, this is our spiritual aspirations and ideals. And this is also where we might not be seeing things as clearly as we should be in life. And Neptune rules over the ocean, and it's also rules over the part of us that is beyond the limits of the shores of personal existence. All right. And Neptune's also our connection to the culture that we live in. All right. And so our Neptune sign is going to show an ideal that we want to manifest. Whereas the house placement of Neptune is going to show an area of life that we want to manifest that ideal in. Now, the aspect patterns of Neptune are going to show the deepest, most unconscious links in our personality structure. All right. And so when we talk about the sun being conjunct to Neptune, hey, man, I'm going to let you know straight off the rip that these people with this one right here are extremely hard to pin down. I'm telling you, I know it because I've been married to somebody with this aspect for years of my life, man. And what you're going to see on one hand is people who are extreme idealists and dreamers who live a life in resistance of being labeled and defined. But on the other hand, you're also going to see people who struggle with their identity and can be way too impressionable because with Neptune aligned with the will and the ego, these folks right here are always going to be seeking out some type of added dimension in their lives, whether that be in spiritual pursuits, artistic endeavors, fantasies, relationships, or something. It's going to be something. There's always going to be a certain search for higher meaning when it comes to this aspect right here. But also understand that Neptune acts to soften the will here. And so in some cases, that's going to mean weak willpower and impressionability. But in other more evolved cases, it's just going to simply mean that these people prefer not to be driven or defined by ego. So they spend a lot of their life and energy trying to break down those ego barriers. And whether this is divine inspiration or a life of delusion is really just going to depend on the other influences going on in the chart, to be honest with you, and how much this person has spiritually matured throughout their life. And either way it goes, man, Neptune also is always going to add an extra dimension to whatever planet that it comes in contact with. OK, so in the case of the sun right here, it's going to instill this need to experience something more than just an ordinary, simple life. OK, and that right there can kind of point to some people who want to glamorize their experience and their role in the world. And then it's going to point to others who are going to want to seek to connect with something higher than themselves. But in both instances right there, it really just boils down to folks who want something to, in their life to be more special than what it already is. And unfortunately, that can lead to some frustrations because, man, oh man, as sensitive as these people are, it ain't hard to get disappointed with everyday life. And also because of that, I've also seen that some of these people with this placement have memories of life experiences and things that happen that can be far removed from the reality of what actually went down. For real. And maybe it had to do with the fact that most of them never had a real father. And when I say real father, understand that the emphasis is on the word real. It's on the word real right there. Because he might have been around or he might not have been. But in either way, his presence was typically not prominent or paramount in this child's life. And that's what this came out as. But that's not always the case either. Okay, because this can also just point to people whose early childhood featured a clear lack of boundaries or rules or direction for whatever reason. But in any case, it just resulted in a disillusioned view of masculinity. And that's going to play out in these people right here in the way that, the way that they struggle with those identity issues that they have and the struggles that they have with asserting themselves sometimes. But it ain't all fucked up though. Okay, I want you to think this fucked up because this can be beautiful in a lot of cases. Because this conjunction right here also gives people a heart of gold and an affinity for music and cinema that's, extremely refined. I mean, extremely refined. And not only that, they also have an attraction and appreciation for spiritual and metaphysical things that goes well beyond normal interest into true talent, a lot of cases. And I mean that. So this one can be both confusing as fuck and divine. And sometimes both at the same time. All right. Now, when it comes to the sun being opposite to Neptune, I got this one myself, so I know it can be a motherfucker. Because it instills this deeply secretive side to your nature that fluctuates between isolation and alienation. Plus, while it most definitely makes us some of the world's most romantic and idealistic people, it also causes us to suffer from an excess of emotion and an exaggerated sensitivity to anything that goes wrong in life. And unfortunately, something going wrong can merely mean that it didn't live up to our standards, which also kind of tend to be highly inflated. And so a lot of the time we just end up being overly emotional and energetically confused. And it's going to take some grounding for the true self to really, find out what you have going on and see what to do with all this confusion going on inside of you. All right. And it's really about finding the self-knowledge that you need to avoid a lot of the difficulties that you're going to see in life regarding commitments and responsibilities and expectations. Because this opposition right here creates such high standards that it's going to take a lot of self-work to become more than just a motherfucking dreamy well-wisher in the parade of life. You know what I'm saying? For real, man. Because it's that simple to do that, man. And not to mention a lot of us with this aspect, I almost said folks, but I might as well hold myself accountable too. A lot of us with this aspect right here tend to live in a certain fantasy realm of sorts where we can easily end up attributing latent, unexpressed qualities of our own being to other people in life. So in order to get through the confusion and manifest our own spiritual and creative potential, we're first going to have to do two things. All right. One, you're going to have to get disciplined enough to overcome self-indulgence and escapism in every form. And I mean that. And two, you're going to have to get to know life by knowing, and I mean really knowing yourself, which in this case is infinitely easier said than done. For real. Now, with Sun trine in Neptune, that's where it gets good. Okay, because this is where we're going to get those beautifully creative souls who possess both a brilliant idealistic charm and a strong, deep appreciation for the finer and more subtle aspects of life, especially music and art and cinema and theater, because all of those have a deeply moving effect on people with this one. And that's if they don't have some type of profound talent themselves. And a lot do. I've seen it. But even more than that, you're just going to see beautiful souls who truly believe the best about everybody, even though they've probably been fucked over way more than one time in their life. And to be honest, because they anticipated and expect exemplary behavior from people, it just makes people want to be their better selves around them. So they never see the worst of anybody. And that's kind of a divine blessing in itself, ain't it? For real. But with the sun square to Neptune, oh man, those divine blessings right there are going to turn devilishly confusing, because here are those idealistic and hypnotic motherfuckers who can truly dissolve the whole world around them. But it also means that their sense of self and the world kind of completely lacks boundaries. So definition is always going to be a struggle for them, man. Plus, they know how to inspire people and make them feel good, but they can also kind of tend to lead them in circles and down that primrose path, if you know what I mean. And that's going to keep happening until they take the time to figure out who the fuck they really are themselves and where the fuck they're really trying to go. Okay? That ain't gonna be easy in any way, form, or fashion. That's why this square is here, but it's absolutely essential to their spiritual development. Because once they get their own direction clarified, they can really, really help other people for real in life. But until then, anytime they tend to help people or express themselves in a compassionate manner, not only will it probably be kind of misunderstood or not be much of a help, it might even end up being a danger to them in some cases. So it's going to take work. It's going to take work for real. Then when we come to the realm of people who have the sextile between these two, okay, this is where we're going to see those truly imaginative and creative and sensitive souls who believe the world can be a better place. And those visions that they have can definitely be sustained by their actions, because they're just especially adept right here at keeping their emotional and spiritual nature operating together. Plus, they have a fantasized view of the world that gives their personality a quiet charm. So there's going to be people that want to help them. They just got to make sure that they don't let the world steal their smile on those occasions where their idealistic nature gets taken advantage of. Because it's going to happen. That's guaranteed. That's how life goes when you're a good person. All you got to do is not get jaded and you'll be able to fade anything. All right. But with Sun quincunx to Neptune right here, or in conjunct to Neptune, this is where we're going to encounter individuals whose energy tends to be directed unrealistically. So their sense of self is going to change and evolve as they learn from their own misappraisals and the fuck ups they have in life. Pardon me. And they're, you know, these people right here, it's just going to be a life of learning how to work, It's going to be a life of trying to learn what works empirically for them. Okay. And so it's just going to always be more helpful for them to take a step back in any situation and look at their own overall direction in life to see where they got confused at. Cause it might be about who they are, or it might be about what they're trying to do. But they'll never know because all their energy is directed into channels that they have no idea what's going on. Okay. But this is Neptune. So, with some divine intervention, things will work out for them. I promise you that. And even if it don't, that's all right. Because the truth of the matter is, just because you built like that, you don't have to build like that. And what I mean is, we all have all this energy available to us. What you do with it is what you do with it. And even beyond that, it's not about what you do. It's about how you do it. And that's some priceless knowledge in itself. And there's been some priceless knowledge of self. Y'all should have already hit the like button, but if you haven't, do it right now. And in doing so, understand that it's not for my ego. It's for the algorithm. It helps me expand the platform. That's it. I don't need nobody to stroke my ego, baby. It's there. You feel me? And I want to appreciate everybody for all the love and support. If you're interested in any astrological readings whatsoever, all you got to do is hit me up in the comments below. But I'll direct you to my email, which is mr.turner1300@gmail.com. All right. And that's actually my preference. If you hit me up in my comments, I'm just going to shoot you to my email. So do that. And the same thing goes if you want some merch. All right. And I got plenty of hats. I got different styles. I got some sweatsuits, some hoodies. Get at me. And I want to sell you the merch. But understand that you can get all the merch you want. You can take all the information I want to give you. You can even try to take some of my energy. But the truth of the matter is, this type of swag I got, this type of energy I come with, it's got to be in you and not on you. So let me put it in you.